Welcome back to Tutorial Tidbits. I'm Elizabeth St. Hilaire, and this week I've got some new tools to show you some new techniques on the gel plate. All the supplies that I use in these videos are listed with a link in the upper right hand corner. And I wanted to let you know that if you feel like you've missed any of my tutorial videos, you can see them on YouTube, but you can also check out my blog where they are all listed with blog posts, editorial, and links for the products, all on my website in one place. So you can just go down the list and you can watch everything you've missed. So that link is up there, and let's go check it out. Welcome back. Today I am excited about a combination of tools that I have just recently figured out. I have been using and recommending this pad of rice paper, which is 9 by 12, and it is my favorite rice paper to use on the gel plate. The sheets are 9 by 12, and previously I was using an 8 by 10 gel plate. Also, the stencils that I have designed are 9 by 12, so they would fit the full sheet of this paper, but the gel plate that I was using was only 8 by 10, so that was giving me a lot of waste around this rice paper, and the pad is kind of expensive, so it seemed a waste to have an inch and then 2 inches of uncovered space when the stencils are actually 9 by 12. So recently I've just received from the wonderful folks at Gel Press this Dina Wakley Delusions Ranger gel plate, and the size of it is 9 by 11. So 9 by 11 is going to get me a lot closer to filling up my whole 9 by 12 sheet. Now I'm going to be having much less waste, down to only an inch rather than 1 inch by 2 inches. So this is exciting stuff. So it's the Dina Wakley plate, and it is 9 by 11, and it is made and manufactured by Gel Press for Ranger. So that's exciting. And then the other thing I want to show you is my new brayer. Now, you know I've been recommending the economy brayer for a lot of my videos. I've been using this brayer because it's about $10, and it's a good price point. I try to keep the supply list to a reasonable amount. And speaking of supply list, that link is in your upper right hand corner. On all my videos, the supplies go to Amazon, and I have a entire Amazon page, and be sure to look at the talk bubbles in the upper right hand corner of all of the items that I feature, because right in that little talk bubble in the upper right hand corner, I make comments on every product as to why I like it. So that can be a really helpful resource. So the problem that I'm having with the economy brayer as of late, because I'm not really fastidious about cleaning, is that the brayer is so close to the plastic that when paint dries in here, and that's just going to happen throughout the process of gel printing, the little bit of paint gets on there and it's so thin it dries very fast. It's really difficult to keep that clean. It's so close that it sometimes tints this and rolls out that color, which isn't so bad unless you're trying to stay in cool colors and you've got warm color kind of affecting your brayer. And that is why I like to use 2 brayers. I do really love having 2 brayers, one for warm colors and one for cool colors. And then I don't have to worry about cross-contaminating, because if you put red into green, it makes mud. But if you put yellow into green or blue into green or teal into green, that's all analogous. It's all on the same color side of the color wheel, so it doesn't matter. So 2 brayers is the way to go, but I digress. Anyway, this is very close, and also this is very tight, and where it turns. So if you get any paint in here or even right there, I mean, the roller is like basically touching right here, and you can see that I've got paint in there, and it's really, it sticks. So anyway, this is the $10 brayer. It works fine, but I've decided to treat myself to the Speedball soft rubber brayer. And generally I call for a hard rubber brayer, but the surface of this is pretty much the same as what they're calling soft on this particular speedball brayer. So this is the 6-inch speedball brayer. It's also on my resource page for Amazon. The surface is, you can squeeze it down, squishy, but it is very smooth and very similar to the surface of this one. So even though this is called hard and this is called soft, it's very similar. Only I can't squeeze this one and I can squeeze that one, but the surface where it's going to roll out the paint is not really any different. So, but what is different is there's a lot of space right here for room for paint to get in there without jamming up the brayer, and there's a lot of space right here. So it's not touching. There's room in here. The other thing about the surface of this brayer is that often you can peel the paint buildup right off of it. So when it gets thick enough for you to be able to grab it and pull it, this surface, the paint pulls off. But I have a 2-inch version of this brayer as well, which I'm going to use to put paint in small areas on the plate. And this is what I will use to put paint on large areas of the plate. But this is about a $30 brayer, and it was really a treat to myself because this one was sticking. One of them recently I had to throw away because it was so stuck. So now I'm down to one and I don't have my 2 brayer setup. So I'm going to really enjoy having this one, and I've got another one on order so that I will have 2, and I'm going to take good care of it because it's a bigger price point. It's $30 as opposed to the $10, but this is all metal, and this is all plastic. So that is my take on the treat yourself to a better brayer, and the gel plate that is going to be the best size for this pad of paper and my stencils and masks from Joggles. So the colors that I'm going to focus on today are supposedly trending colors. Green is supposedly a trending color. If you look at the color trends online, fashion and interior design. So the greens that I am working with, I have all these out. I can't guarantee I'll get to every one of them, but what I've got is chromium green oxide, green gold, turquoise phthalo, Payne's gray, which is a blue, sap green, and titanium white. So what I want to say about these greens and what I want to talk about that I do every week that I use golden fluid acrylics is to show you that the black tick marks on the front of the container, that is an actual swipe of paint, but it is really not to show you the color because you can see the color through the container. That's not the point of it. It's to show you the translucency of the pigment. So you can see the tick marks through green gold because it's highly translucent. You can see them through turquoise phthalo, but it's a darker color and it's less translucent. You can see them in Payne's gray, but it's less obvious because it's very much a darker color. And you can see them through sap green because it's a lighter hue or color than Payne's gray. You can see them through there. But you have a hard time seeing them through chromium oxide green because this is an opaque color. So it is unlike green gold, which is highly translucent. Chromium oxide green, as you can see, is an opaque color. So what does that mean? Titanium white is also decently opaque. You can see the tick marks slightly, but you can definitely see that they're not solid, showing through like they show through a translucent color. So the white is also opaque. So that means if you mix white with any of your colors, they'll have a level of opaque, and that this, opaque, and the chromium oxide green is opaque. That means you don't want to use it in large amounts on top unless your goal is to block out what's underneath it. So I always work in multiple layers with my stencils and masks, and I want to see all of those layers through the translucent paint. So I have to be careful about using chromium oxide green because it will not allow the layer below it to show through. So if I use it, I either want to use it on the bottom or I want to use it in small amounts on the top layers, not in large amounts, not in a stencil or a mask that has large openings, because I don't want this to obliterate whatever work I do with these colors underneath it. So we're going to be layering, and we're going to be keeping in mind the opacity and translucency of the colors that we're using, and also knowing that if I lighten any of these up with titanium white, then that can take a translucent color and add a level of opacity to it. So you want to keep that in mind as well. I don't really mix a lot of white with dark colors because it makes them pastel and chalky. But I'm going to try a little bit of lightening in small amounts. So I have gone over the best way to take care of a brand new gel plate before, but and I think I even did it last week or a couple of weeks ago, but just for repeat's sake, for people who haven't been here before. Boy, that's in there tight. So the first thing you want to do is take it out of the clamshell and keep the clamshell, but take the printed material out. And so just keep this for storing the plate back in. Read the printed material, commit it to memory. I don't think it's all that much information. It talks about how to use it, cleaning it, storage, and caution. Basically, it's going to tell you in the caution that the gel plate has mineral oil in it, which can leach out and go onto your surface. So you don't want to put it on your wood coffee table because the mineral oil will leach out. It leaches out onto my nonstick craft mat, and if I leave it overnight or any long length of time, and it'll leave like a dark mark on here. So you don't really want that. It also says not to use glossy paper because really highly glossy paper can stick to the plate. It says not to lay anything on the surface like with a texture. So don't lay like your brayer on the surface, because the surface of this will indent. So if you don't put it back in the clamshell and you leave it overnight with a bunch of things piled on it, they can indent the surface of the gel plate, and that'll be permanent. And you don't want that because that'll ruin the surface of it with indentations. So, and you want to keep it away from open flame because it has mineral oil in it. And keep it away from your dog because you don't want your dog to chew this up and digest it. So, anyway, so you're going to remove the Mylar film from the outside edges. This Mylar is part of the manufacturing process. It is not meant to be stored with the plate. It is not meant to stay with the plate. You want to take it off, and they're going to tell you to discard it, but I'm going to tell you that, guess what? This is the perfect size for you to lay in between your stencils to keep them from tangling. This Mylar is the perfect size for that. So we're going to save that, and we're going to take good care of this brand new gel plate by putting it back in the clamshell when we're done using it, by cleaning it before we put it away, and just taking generally good care of it. So the brand new plate, when you first use it, is going to release some of that mineral oil, and it'll cause some little speckles in your prints. That will go away with a few prints, and once it gets dirty and worn in a little bit, they call those little speckles blooming, and it's just a bit of the mineral oil coming out and the paint resisting off the mineral oil. I love that effect, but it doesn't last. So, and you don't want to have to keep buying a new gel plate to have that happen. And so let's make some prints. So this sketch paper pad is my favorite for the gel plate, and it's because it is 9x12 and also because it is very sturdy. It is sturdy and thick, and it is not going to tear or stick to this plate. A brand new plate has a good sticky surface to it, and a very thin rice paper is going to stick and tear. So I love this paper because it's much heavier and more durable than most rice papers that you get online. Also, this glues down beautiful in collage because it's highly absorbent, and you can bleed the color all the way through this paper if you brush it with paint with a lot of water added into it. So you can bleed the color all the way through the paper, and that means when you tear it, it will not have white edges. So the paper comes in the pad with a smooth side and a rough side, and the smooth side is up in the pad. So when you lift up the cover of the pad, this is the smooth side facing up. So the smooth side has sizing on it, and you want to use that side down on the plate. So you're going to take the smooth side and put it down on the plate because it is less likely to stick because it is smoother and it has sizing. The back side is rough and it can stick under certain environmental circumstances. So if you're in a very dry climate, your paint dries quickly and you have more likely it's going to stick. So so always use the smooth side down, and the thickness of this paper is durable and really helps in terms of when you're pulling prints off of this plate. So the first thing that I always do is to create a light colored solid. So you're going to spread out a small amount of paint so that it can roll out thin. So you take your brayer and you're going to roll it out in a nice thin layer all the way out to the edges and smooth it out. Then you're going to take your brayer and you're going to lay it down on your tabletop on this back part, just like that. That way it doesn't get paint on your tabletop and it doesn't stick. And you definitely don't want to set it aside on a piece of paper face down because it'll stick. And the paper will stick, and then you'll have a line of paper on your brayer or a line from the tabletop. So you definitely don't want to do that. You want to put it up like this. That's what that back edge is for. So we're going to take the smooth side and we're going to print this paper, and we're going to get just about a full sheet of color. This is a really great because, as I said, if you're wasting 2 inches of white paper every time you're making a collage sheet, and there's our blooming. I mean, this is just pretty much filling up the whole sheet of paper. So there's way less waste on a pad of paper that you've spent some money on. And here's the blooming. So that's going to happen on a brand new gel plate because some of the mineral oil is leaching out. It is a cool effect, but you can't fall in love with it. Also, we'll probably lose it in our layers. So now I've got some light colored solid sheets. I've got 4 of them that I mostly made with the green gold and the chromium oxide green. I've still got a little blooming, and I've got some streaking and striations from the brayer, but these are great base layers of solid color to build on. So what I'm going to be doing is layering and showing you layering and going slowly in shifts of green that are slowly darker so that you get a nice rich layered green collage paper look. So I'm going to start with, these are my stencil designs and masks for joggles.com. I never can remember the names of them. I think this is TikTok and this is Seaweed. This one is Ribbon Candy. And I think these are the ones that I'm going to put together. So I've got some swirly lines and some sort of interesting shapes, and I think these will layer nicely together. So the first thing I'm going to do is use a color that's just slightly darker than this chromium oxide, and I think the sap green will do that because even though it looks dark, it's really translucent. You can see the tick lines through it really well, and when you roll it out with your 6-inch brayer, you can see that it's much lighter than you think it is. Just going to press and rub and make sure you get pressure down through all the spaces. And there you have, it's a higher contrast actually than I thought it was going to be. So we'll take that, and then we're going to lift off for a ghost print and come back to my green gold, and it's probably going to be a little higher contrast yet again, but I'm going to put it on my green gold sheet and grab that ghost print. And you can see we're filling out the majority of this 9x12 sheet of paper. Now, another concept I want to show you is using the 2-inch sprayer and just rolling it out so that it doesn't cover the whole plate. So we'll get a little bit of the Payne's Gray and the sap green, and we'll just kind of make some kind of a marbled effect with it. And then we'll come back with the Ribbon Candy, because that's got a lot of big openings. And we'll come back to this one and see how that looks by darkening it down and by giving it sort of that two-tone effect. So we're layering greens, and we're going slightly darker each layer. So now you're starting to see a nice rich layering of greens, of patterns and textures. And the nice part about that 2-inch brayer is it's applying some dark areas with the Payne's gray, and then it's only in certain spots. So that's really nice. And then I've got this ghost print, and I'm gonna put that on this next base solid layer that I had prepared. And that's really unique. And I'm gonna just sort of press it again to get it all off. And now I have this sort of really kind of eviscerated ghost print from the ribbon candy mask. I'm gonna do a little turquoise phthalo and a little chromium. And again, I'm gonna use my 2-inch brayer to sort of take those two colors, and I'm not even gonna cover the whole plate. I'm gonna leave some open spaces. We'll put that right here. And look at that. Now we're interrupting the stencil patterns and making some beautiful collage paper for trees, grass. It's really looking organic. And I'm just gonna flip it and grab the rest of it. I'm gonna use a little turquoise phthalo, and we'll go dark over that. We'll see how dark this is. Well, now I've got a little bronze in my brayer, so it's lightened up. But I still think it'll show up over this. We'll give it a little bit more. And we're gonna come back with the ribbon candy mask. And I'm gonna lightly rub this one so I get a look at that layering. So I got a little bit of a lighter, less crisp edge to my pattern because I rubbed it lightly, so there's still more paint in the middle areas, and it just made it a little softer with a light touch. So I'm gonna, let's see, switch the direction of this and print it again. So now I've got some beautiful, rich, dark green layered collage paper with the multi-layers working from light to dark and having a little bit of the metallic incorporated in there. That's gonna be pretty dark. And I'm gonna pull out another stencil. This one, which I believe is called Drizzle. Put that on. And see if we can't use that to add some interesting texture to the top of this one. So again, we've blocked out what's underneath with a dark color that's sort of opaque from the chromium that was in the brayer. So let's put some white in this. And use the drizzle again this way. And the seaweed here. See what happens. The drizzle has a lot of, being a mask that's smaller than the 9x12, it has a lot of open space behind it. So I want to try to get more pattern on this sheet by using 2. There we go. So now that's an interesting layer. So that's really a lot of layers, and this has created a really nice collage sheet. I think one more layer, bronze across the top of this in something with just an interesting pattern. My peacock plumage mask, put that on, and I'm going to do the bronze over the top. Now bronze again is opaque, so we're gonna be covering some of what's below. So there, now we have some beautiful layers, and I feel like we need to do one more to break up these big solids of bronze. A sap green with a little turquoise phthalo, plus the bronze that's under there, stirring and rolling. The bronze is going to make this another opaque layer. So we'll see what happens. We're going to go back to the seaweed. Now, I have lost track of how many layers this is, but you can see the benefit of layering and layering and layering the different greens and the different patterns, and the fact that this plate is making a full 9x12 sheet of paper is wonderful. No waste. And I am super satisfied with that. That is a lot of beautiful layering, and it is all in the green family with a little bit of the Payne's gray. But that is just some beautiful, layered, rich collage paper. If you would like to receive these videos as a blog post with all the product images across the bottom with resources for purchase and in your inbox in a nice designed email, click in the link in the upper right-hand corner to subscribe to my newsletter. And remember that I am a Patreon instructor. You can receive in-depth tutorial videos, multi-part videos on my collage process, as well as many other processes, underpainting, sketching, building backgrounds, portrait painting. All of that is available on my Patreon page for your $25 a month subscription, and that link is in your upper right-hand corner. Thanks so much. Happy Friday, and thank you for being here.